Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Marwell Manor. We're just starting the day off by mucking out the cows. I've just cleaned up the food trough and now we're getting rid of our manure build up inside the shed. Going to give them a little bit of a top up with their food and water as well. They have started to munch through their supplies a little bit, so we're just going to give those a bit of a top up. And once we're done with that, we're going to be breaking out the cedar and we're going to be planting OSR, oilseed radish, on our fields to give us a nice cover crop to protect the fields over our winter period, and also to give us a free fertilizer state as well. Now, I've been doing a little bit of thinking on the 6R situation, because it was pointed out in the comments. Someone was curious as to whether or not I could fit skinny wheels on the 6R. And the answer is no, you can't fit skinny wheels on a 6R. However, I was initially thinking, well, I'm not going to need skinny wheels because I was only thinking of my fertilising. I wasn't thinking about weeding. And now I'm not so sure as to whether or not I might actually find myself in a situation where I'm going to need to... I'm going to need to maybe have skinny wheels available for weeding. So now I'm thinking maybe I need to keep the 6M and the 6R would become a third tractor, which would be a more expensive option, because instead of getting some money back as a trade-in on our 6M, we would be having to spend the full amounts on a 6R, which would be over 200,000 to get a 6R. Even sort of a stock model, a base model. So I'm now not all that certain whether or not we will definitely go ahead and get the 6R. It would be nice, but I just get that horrible feeling that if I do get rid of the 6M, you know, and our weeds take a while to come in, I could find myself in a position where all of my fields need weeding, and the only way to do it would be to damage the crops as I drive over them. So a little bit more thought on that is required, and I think we're going to have to wait and see just how much silage money we can raise with our baling before we actually make the final call as to whether or not we do get a 6R as a third tractor, so that we have a 6R, a 7R and a 6M as like the complete set, as it were. Just not 100% confident that I will be able to completely eliminate the need for skinny wheels. In terms of fertilising, it won't be an issue, because with cover crops, you know, we can get our stuff fertilised at an early growth stage and everything will be fine. Just need to clean the poop out of the forks here. Use our brand new pressure washer. Make sure that we clean that out. There we go. And now we'll break out the food mixer. Got a little bit of straw left in the straw blower as well. I might possibly use that up. Let's take a quick look at our animal page and just see the situation with our cows. So you can see productivity now back up to 99%. It had dipped actually down to around about 80% because of the mess, and you can see total mixed ration now less than half a trough. Water's down to less than half a trough as well. Straw's okay, but we do have that little bit of straw left. So I think before we do anything with the food, we may as well just use up the last 1,000 or so litres in this bale. There we go, 1,426 litres left in this bale. We'll use this up, and then we'll stick that away, but we'll carry on with the bale spikes so that we can make our food mix. we need to open the gate again. There we go. Just blow in the last of the bale. And you can just see the straw coverage just creeping up a little bit there. There we go. So that's enough. We're not going to put another bale in because there just isn't enough need for another bale at the moment. Actually, we'll leave the gate open because we're about to go back in there with a food mixer. So let's get our straw blower shoved away. And disconnect. There we go. Let's bring out the mixer. That's something else we might possibly look at as well next year, is getting a larger mixer. Being able to only really effectively, with our current bale setup, only mix up 2 bales at a time before we I'm facing the wrong way with this, aren't I? No, it doesn't matter, I suppose, does it? Given the way the triggers work, we kind of have to stay central anyway, so until the map gets updated. Yeah, given that we can only really mix up 2 bales because the capacity of this is less than 12,000, it does mean that making TMR is a little bit of a slow process at the moment. Now, there is a larger mixer available at the moment, which is a bit more expensive, and of course with the Anderson equipment that's coming next year, there will be a couple of food mixers included in that stuff as well. So we could potentially look at just take from the top level. Can I reach the top level actually without just potentially, we've got a couple of much bigger food mixers coming. We could maybe go straight up to one of those as well. It would definitely help speed up, as I say, our TMR mixing process. Having a larger mixer, it's not an essential thing. We can get by with this. Just as the herd grows and the TMR demands increase, then the smaller the mixer, the longer it's going to take to mix up a bigger and bigger batch of TMR, to the point where it's going to become unsustainable. So that is something that we are going to have to be wary of. I messed my bale stack up a little bit there, but it's my own fault for going in sideways or going in at an angle. Need to get back a little bit further, I think. There we go. So you can see the TMR going up very slowly there. It's and at 8,000 litres a time, it does take a while to fill this trough up, as you can see. Water's next. That's going to be easy. A single tanker will be able to take care of our water needs, and we're not going to bother with another straw bale because there isn't enough space for another bale yet. Not a full bale anyway. So we've got another couple of runs at least of TMR. We'll certainly be clearing up these kind of bales I scooted around the place. Start with this one. And grab another hay bale. Just try and take from the end so we don't mess up the rest of the bales that are stacked in. This is the worst part, is when you come to move bales, you don't want to... I can't reach. Well, I can go a little bit further forward. There we go. You don't want to mess up the rest of the stack, and then you either end up with a huge mess of bales, or you just go, gonna have to tidy those up, and then spend a good couple of hours having to restack all those bales again. And with my kind of my kind of need to have a tidy yard, that would mean I would have to restack all of those bales, and that would just take me forever and frustrate the hell out of me. But I do like to try and keep a tidy yard. Never used to really care about it when I first started, but now, yeah, a tidy yard is just something I have to have. If my yard is messy, I feel frustrated. Like I'm not taking care of the farm properly. So this is why everything gets put away at the end of the day. Everything gets cleaned off, put away in the sheds. And my need to do that has become slightly more extreme over the last couple of years. I'd quite happily leave some, one or two bits out if I was in the middle of a job, and so I could jump straight back on it again the next time. But now it's a case of, everything has to be put away. To the point where even if I'm doing 2 episodes back to back in terms of recording, I'll still put everything away, clean everything off, end the recording, and then immediately get everything back out again to start the next recording. It's getting out of control, I think. But it is what it is. Whoops. Missed the mixer there. That's not so good. Go. Let's grab another hay bale, and then we'll check our food supply in the troughs and see whether that's going to be enough, or if we're going to need to do another round or two after that. Still got plenty of bales for the rest of the year, as you can see. So we're in no rush to stock up on additional silage and hay bales for the cows. Straw will, there's not anywhere near as many bales, but they'll last long enough. It's only when we get substantially increased numbers that we're going to need to make sure we have loose material, because we're just going to hit the bale limit so quickly. If we stock up with large enough numbers of bales to deal with the cows, then we'll hit those bale limits so quickly that we'll never be able to really do any baling on our fields. So we will have to move into loose materials as the herds get bigger. Okay, food trough is going green. We'll do one more round, I think, of TMR, and then we'll do some water, and then that'll be the cows taken care of. So it's going to be a nice easy day today, you know, just running around with the planter after this, getting all of our fields done. We are going to go ahead and just plant straight onto the lime this time around. I'm not so bothered about potentially gunking up the works, because we're going to have all winter to really clean out and maintain that cedar if it does get gunked up. Plus we might be selling the cedar over the winter period as well, so it's not a major issue this time around. Just didn't want to do it on our very first planting, which is why we then kind of cultivated our fields directly afterwards. This year we just don't really have the time to do that as well, because we've got a couple of days left after today before we hit winter. I want to get the OSR planted today. I want to get my grass cut done tomorrow on field 19, so that on the final day of autumn we can start ploughing up field 19 and at least, you know, get the ground kind of prepped. I don't think we'll be able to plant OSR on that field in time. Maybe if we're lucky, if we have enough time at the end of the day, we might be able to do that, get an OSR planting done, but I kind of doubt it. In which case we'll just have to make sure that we do put that extra stage of fertiliser on that field next year. Right, that's our food done and taken care of. Let's close that up. Food trough looking a lot healthier now. Let's put the mixer back away again, and then drop off those spikes and reattach them to our bale shredder. And then we'll have to go back around towards the manure area where we've got our water trailer, so we can get that brought round for topping up the cows. Let's just drop that there. I can turn the lights off now. Brightened up a bit. There we go. So if we drop that there. Excellent stuff. Did I leave the gate open over here, or did I don't actually think I used this gate today, did I? No, I didn't, because I came through the shed. Alright, there we go. There's our trailer. Back our way in. Hope that's not our water trailer leaking there, that little puddle. Still got a little bit of water left in there as well, actually. We'll give it a top up, we'll just run with a full tank, because it'll take most of the tank to fill the cow's water trough up. There we go. So while that's filling up, let's run down here and open up the gate down here so we can get in there and actually top up the water trough. There we go. Definitely going to need to put this 6M in for a service at some point if we are keeping it. In fact, we'll probably end up servicing it before we sell it, you know, if we do sell it. That's our water level going up quite nicely. Let's see, next cow number 14 in 61.5 hours. That's quite a way off. That's going to take us some time, I think, to build up our stock just through breeding. Never mind. We can always add to their numbers with a little injection of cash next year. Again, it's on our potential list of things to spend some money on, depending on how much money we do actually raise. Alright, let's close the gate behind us. And we are done with the cows, so we'll drop the trailer off. And then we'll go grab our seeder and the 7R, and we'll start putting down some OSR on our fields. Just need to give the 7R a little bit of a top up with fuel before we get hooked up to the seeder. We are running a little bit low. There we go. We are out of cash for the next couple of days until our silage bales come in or we get a crop sale. But that's absolutely fine. We've got more than enough seed, I think, I hope, to plant OSR. It's an incredibly low drop rate in terms of how fast the seeds go in. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got over 2,000 litres. That's more than enough seed to plant OSR here. So let's check that we have the right crop. There we go. And I think we'll start over here and just sort of make our way across the farm. So one of the things I want to do is try planting across the field this year. Last year we went up and down. This year I want to try going side to side on the field. So let me get to my kind of starting spot. This is going to be over here. I'm going to try and work the field, nice and straightforwardly like this, and then put a boundary pass in once we're done. So we'll have to see how well we can do this. Our 7R is going to struggle a little bit. It is in need of a tune-up, but we just don't have the parts available at the moment. Our engine is taking quite a hammering in its first year. You can see 23.5 hours on the clock. We're going to need to definitely give it a good service over winter, so we're slightly underpowered, really, compared to where we should be. We should be planting at 9 miles an hour quite comfortably on here, and we're just kind of chugging along at 8. So we're definitely feeling the effects of a hard season's graft on our seeder at the moment. But come the winter, we'll make sure that this is properly serviced and we won't have any issues with our seeder. So I'm going to try and plant all the way around the field like this, and then when it comes to the end we'll put a border pass around just to tidy up our edges, make sure that everything is nice and neat and clean in terms of our planting. And there you can see just how slow our seed drop rate is for OSR. So we've got enough seed here to do all of our fields. I'm pretty comfortable with that, or confident of that. So I'll crack on with field 15 here, and then when we're done we'll hop over the fence. Not literally. That could be disastrous for the suspension of our 7R and the fence and the field and the seeder and everything involved, basically. Yeah, we'll move around the fence onto field 18, and then we'll start planting our OSR on that field as well. So I'll catch up with you when I've made a bit more progress here on field 15. We're making okay time here on field 15, although I've been watching my seed drop rate and we've just gone in under 1800 litres, so we've used up around 450 odd litres or so of seed at the moment, and I think we've done just over half the field. You can see there, that's where we are in terms of how much we've done. I'm now starting to wonder whether I have actually got enough seed to actually do all 3 of my fields. It's possible that we might be a little bit short, so if that's the case, I may have to go and do an emergency bale sell of a couple of bales, or see if we can get a delivery contract or two, to be able to afford to buy an extra bag or 2 of seed if necessary. I'm hoping we'll be alright, but I'm now not quite so confident in terms of just how much seed we've got left, as to whether or not I can actually get all 3 fields planted today. It may be that we do fields 15 and 18 today, and then try and earn a little bit of extra cash, and then before we start our grass cut tomorrow, we quickly do field 1 tomorrow. We'll see how things go. A little concerned, but I think we'll be alright. The other factor, of course, is time as well. As you can see, we spent a little bit of time this morning obviously tending to our cows because they did need it, but now we're rapidly approaching midday and we're still on our first field, and we know how big field 18 is. That's going to take a long time to do as well, so we may simply just run out of time today, and even if we do have the seed, we just might not have the time to plant field 1 as well. So it looks as though we might possibly have to split our planting up, which isn't necessarily a big issue. As I say, if worse comes to worse, we can always plant field 1 at the start of tomorrow before we do the grass cut, but we do need to make sure that the whole field gets cut and baled and then cleared tomorrow, so that ideally come our final sort of day of autumn, we can break the plough out on field 19 and start carving that field up. That would be the most ideal sort of outcome, I think. Just putting the kind of border passes in now that we've done the vast majority of the field. There's a little bit left at the bottom that still needs to be done, a couple of passes down there, but apart from that, we're literally just kind of looping around the field here to put our border on, clean our rows off like this. So another few minutes and this field will be done, and then we can move over to field 18. And there we go, we are finished on field 15. So time to turn our attention here to field 18. This is going to be a much trickier task, and I am going to need guidelines on this one for this central section, because I'm not going to be able to see where at a quick glance without dipping the camera right down. I'm not going to be able to see on this kind of overhead view exactly where my seed stops and the kind of stubble begins unless we zoom right in. You can see it's a lot harder to tell with that sort of field texture. So we're going to be using our ridge markers. Get this central section done with guidelines. What I'm probably going to do though is I'm just putting this marker in here. I'm probably going to turn right at the top of the field, and I'm going to work this section of the field first. That's going to be a relatively straightforward and easy section to do because we've got, you know, the straw, the chopped straw on the field, so it'll be really quick and easy to see where we're going and keep ourselves in a straight line. But when we come back to this central section, yes, we'll have to be using these ridge markers here as our kind of guideline. It is still a little tricky to tell, again, from the overhead shot, but from in-cab it should be relatively straightforward for us to track that ridge that we're marking in there. So let's plod on, make some progress here with field 18, and I'll see you in a little while. So this is going to be potentially the last time we get to kind of really utilise the direct drill facility of this seeder. If we do switch over for the Lemken, which I am very tempted to do with that 12 metre working width, then it does mean that we will not be able to just work on a field like this next year. We will have to cultivate after the harvest. So the question then becomes, how big a cultivator do we go with? In terms of power options, at the moment, we're kind of limited. So we're really not looking at anything much bigger than sort of 6 to 8 meters is the biggest cultivator we can afford. So I think what we might possibly have to do is maybe get a couple of 6-meter cultivators, so we can get, you know, two tractors cultivating a field to clean it, especially on this field. We're going to want to do 2 tractors cultivating at the same time, I think, just to speed the process up, because otherwise that's an almost all-day job again, just cultivating the field. It will obviously allow us to plant a lot faster, you know, to do these really long runs with an extra 3-meter working width. That's going to be a big sort of step up for us. We are just leaving a little gap there. Back up and tag that. But losing that direct drill ability will potentially hamper us in terms of how quickly we can turn a field around at the end of the year, if we're going to be planting cover crops every year. So I don't know, I may possibly end up just sticking with this, sticking with the Horsch Pronto. I mean, it does work really, really well. It's got a great turning circle. It's a very nimble, compact 9-meter seeder. And we don't have to run it with fertilizer, because we're not at the moment. So we don't have to, you know, make sure that it's got fertilizer in for every single time we use it, which would end up over-fertilizing the field. If we plant fertilizer and radish and then come back and then plant seed and fertilizer again, we're over-fertilizing the field, because we only need 2 applications, and the radish on its own is an application. So we can run it empty. Unfortunately, we can only run it with 3,000 litres, which means it is going to need topping up on a fairly regular basis, especially if we start using, you know, grains that have a slightly higher drop rate than things like canola or soybean. But this might be the best one for us, really. I mean, it's going to take us time to plant the fields with 9 meters like this, but in terms of saving costs and man hours involved in turning a field over, I think it might be the better option is to just stick with this. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Should we upgrade to the 12-meter Lemken, which will allow us to plant faster, but will require us to buy cultivators to clean the field after every harvest, or should we stick with the Pronto? Let me know what you guys think. So this side piece is pretty much done now. I'm just putting in the edge along here, then we'll do that little bit along the bottom and rejoin the main field. I'm going to work that section with ridge markers so that we can actually see where we're going. I've got my lights on here just so I can again make sure I'm catching the edge of the field, because it is a little bit dark in these shadows as always. And we're getting clear of that now so we can turn the lights back off again. There we go. Just clean up this bottom edge just here. And there's our ridge marker. So, time to switch over to cab view, employ our ridge markers, and settle in for a long up and down on this field. I'm looking at the time; it's 4:30. This is the last field we're going to get done today. We're not going to do field 1. 2 reasons: one, we're going to run out of time. We're already starting to lose the light a little bit. And 2, we're going to run out of seed. We've got just under 700 litres left, so we're not going to have enough seed left to do this field and field 1 as well. We may possibly not even have enough to finish this field off. So going to have to come up with a little bit of cash from somewhere to purchase a little bit more seed. And don't forget, we're not allowed to touch the bank. We have a credit limit maximum of 500,000. We are 550 at the moment because of that extra investment that we had from the Hollisters, and we can't even begin to touch from the bank until we're under 500,000. So we're going to have to come up with some cash ourselves, either by doing some contract work or maybe selling off a couple of our bales and doing that. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting decision on how we can raise the additional funds. Plus we're going to lose a little bit of cash overnight as well, through interest payments and stuff as well. So we could end up selling a fair few bales. We'll take them from the silage bales if we can. If we do need to sell bales, because we can easily stock those and replace those when we do our grass cut tomorrow. They'll obviously need a couple of days to ferment, but if we take, say, half a dozen bales from the silage, then we can put 6 aside and use those to replenish what we've taken out. So our food mix balance of 50-50 bale mix stays the same. Getting towards the end of the row. So let's lift the seeder. Change our ridge markers. I think we might end up putting a cleaning pass along the bottom of this field as well. Might be an easier way for us to go about getting the rest of this field done. So I'm going to press on with this, and I'll see you in a couple of hours once it starts to get dark, I suppose. See how much of the field we've got left to do at that point. So we're down to 250 litres in the seeder. We're making decent progress on the field. It's coming up on 6:15. Everything's going very, very smoothly. You can see where we are at the moment. We're about halfway across this kind of central section over here. There you can just see the edge of the other sort of chopped straw area there. We're getting it done, but I am wondering if we're going to have enough seed to actually finish this field off. I really don't want to have to come back, and I've just missed the thin line. We stepped out there a touch. I really don't want to have to come back and do this field in stages. I'd like to try and get it all done in one go if I can. It's carving up a slightly bigger ridge there. And we can kind of work with that. That's fine. Let's get to the end. Lift our seeder, switch our ridge marker over. I'm going to start needing our working lights again soon. Let's get ourselves lined up. There we go. So yeah, the seed, I thought we'd have enough. I honestly thought, 2,500 litres or so would be enough. And it looks as though we're going to end up probably being a little bit short, just a little bit. I mean, I'm not expecting this to grow immediately anyway, so we should be okay in terms of, the growth not being staggered. It should all still come in at the same time. It's frustrating. When you misjudge something like that. I thought I'd be good, and maybe I probably should have bought a little bit of extra seed just to be on the safe side. In terms of fuel, you can see we're down to half a tank. With our tractor wearing itself out a little bit, it is using a bit more fuel than it would normally as well, which is why I wanted to make sure we had plenty of fuel in, because I didn't want this to run out. Our little 6M, bless it, it's worked so hard for us this year, but it just doesn't have the power to pull this seeder. It would really struggle. It's about 100, and even a fully tuned up, perfectly functioning 6M would be about 100 and about 110, 120 horsepower short. And this and our 6M has put in a lot of hours this year. It's in need of a proper overhaul over winter. Make sure that engine is good and proper for next year. It'll do for the rest of this year, but it certainly is going to be down a little bit on power, and there's no way it would ever be able to cope with the Pronto. If it could pull it, it would crawl it along the fields. It really would. So yeah, we're really up against it towards the end of the year. This is another reason why I think having a third tractor, a 6R, would help distribute some of that load, some of the strains and the pressures that we're putting on our 7R. We could halve some of that a little bit, so it's not being overworked. We're not so overly reliant on one single tractor for most of the jobs. And then when it comes to the mowing, we have to run the 7R, because the 6M doesn't necessarily have the power to run both sets of mowers. It could probably just about do it power wise, but it doesn't have a front attacher, so even if it had the power, we couldn't connect both mowers up. So we have to use the 7R for that, and then we invariably end up just sticking with the 7R as we do the other stuff. We perhaps could have done a little bit of a better job of switching over to the 6M for windrowing and tedding and baling and stuff. But even so, I mean, in terms of hours used, it's not lagging that far behind. We've still got well over 20 hours on the 6M, just over 25, nearly 25 and a half hours on this. Having a 6R in the mix as well would really enable us to kind of split some of these tasks. So Our seeding could all be done by the 7R. The mowing could be done by the 6R. You know, some of the smaller stuff could be done by the 6M, and we could help distribute that load across our fleet a little bit better, so that they don't wear our vehicles out quite so quickly. We'll end up paying less in maintenance because we won't have to, you know, tune the vehicles up quite so often. Although, obviously, as a flip side of that, we'll have 3 vehicles that will need maintaining as opposed to 2. But I think eventually it would work out cheaper in the long run to run 3 with less usage than 2 with very heavy usage. And so I see, like, down to 130 litres. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to cover the rest of this field. I think we're going to have to come back first thing in the morning with a little bit of extra. I suppose we could break off now, actually, and we could go and sell a few bales right now and then get to the store if they're still open. I'm not sure if they're still going to be open at this time of night. I'll give the manager a call, see if he's still around and whether or not he would be willing to stick around for a bit, or maybe at least, you know, have some stuff left out for us tomorrow, first thing in the morning, so we can get straight on with reseeding. So I'll give him a quick call, and I'll catch up with you in a moment. So unfortunately we were a little bit too late. The store closed at 6:30, and so there was no answer when I tried calling, and we're almost out of seed now. We're down to the last 30 litres in the tank, so yeah, we're going to have to go and do some late night bale selling. I think we'll sell off a load of silage bales. We'll have to replenish them. Luckily we topped up our food, so we're not going to have to worry about making sure that we've got enough for the cows for a while, which gives us a few days to get our bales cut and fermented and then replenished. But we'll look to sell off, I think, probably half the bales that we have in storage right now in terms of the silage bales. That'll raise enough cash to pay off any maintenance fees overnight that we're going to incur, our loan repayment, and in terms of interest payments, and also have money for seed in the morning. And then we'll have to come back early on, as early as we can, finish this field off, and then on top of that, do field 1, get that field done. I'm just looking at, we've got 8 litres of seed. I think that's probably a good point for us to actually stop our seeding for the night. So we'll take this back to the yard. We'll give it a bit of a hose down. We've got most of the field seeded. I don't like to leave fields kind of half done like this, but we ran out of seed. We just don't have any seed left to actually finish this job off tonight, unfortunately, and it's too late for us to go and get some seed. So as I say, we'll have to do that first thing tomorrow. So instead, I think we'll grab the 6M. As I say, we'll take that over. I'm going to park up the 7R here for now. We'll get that cleaned and hosed down, and then we'll pack everything away again at the end of the night. Just get the lights off. There we go. Let's go jump in the 6M, load up on some bales. Get our working lights on while we're in the yard, so we've got good visibility. We'll take those silage bales off and sell them. Let's see, how many do I want to get rid of? Still got that trailer on loan. Tomorrow will be the last day that we have that loading trailer there. We'll use that to clear the field after we've done our cuts, and then take it back to the store. Let's see, how many have we got left? We've got 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 bales. So I think if we can go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll get rid of these 8 and we'll see how much money we can bring in with those 8 bales. So I'm going to need spikes. Oops. There we go. And now I need to pull 8 bales out of this stack here. See if I can get 2 at once. Off the front here. These spikes are quite narrow, so we don't have a huge sort of window to work with. I think if I spike about there, lift the spikes up a touch, that should do it. Just getting a little bit of weight distribution issues, but as long as we're careful we'll be alright. That's 2. Need another 6. We'll get those out. Load them onto our trailer. And then take a trip over to the barn. And hopefully we'll get a nice little bit of cash for these. It's getting quite dark indeed now, as you can see. Definitely getting late. 10 to 8 at night. Sun just kind of setting in the distance there. The need for lights is very much apparent now. But we have our 8 bales of silage. We're on our way over to the barn. And what if we get from this? This is going to be enough to, at the very least, make sure that we have enough to buy a couple of pallets of seed tomorrow, or at the very least, you know, use our seed tank just to fill up with as much seed as we can, so that we can get field 18 finished off and then start work on field 1. Do need to do that mowing tomorrow as well. I'm trying to decide whether or not to start with the mowing and then do the seeding as soon as the store opens, you know, break off from some of the mowing. Store isn't due to open until 8 o'clock. You know, their hours at the moment are at 8 till 6:30. From what I understand, that they will be moving to a 7 till 7 time slot next year. I think we've gone past our turn. I think I missed it in the dark. Yeah, we did. I'll have to use the shop to turn around here. Completely missed our turn off there. See how, look at that glow of the sun there over the tree line. Ah, it's awesome. But it's amazing how dark it gets, how quickly it gets this dark. So I've got the indicators on. Here's our turn off just here, look. Just missed it in the dark. It's very easy not to see it if you're not entirely sure where it is. There we go. Let's get some working lights on so we can see a little bit better. Now we're off the main road. Obviously, you've got to be careful we don't dazzle other drivers, which is why we haven't got them on permanently. But at least now we can see what we're doing and where we're going. This is always a bonus. Let's get straightened up a bit. So, moment of truth time. Whoops. How much can we make off these? Hopefully, as I say, it's going to be... if we can get, nearly 10,000 again, like we got last time we were selling 8 bales, that would be great. 8.5. That's not too bad. It would have been nice to get a little bit more, but that's still over 1,000 per bale, which is better than the first load of bales that we sold, where we were getting less than that. So, not perfect, but decent enough. Decent enough money to make sure that we'll definitely have money for seed once our expenses go out overnight. So it's time for us to head back to the farm. We'll get everything kind of cleaned, locked away, turned in for the night, and then tomorrow we'll go pick up a little bit of seed. We may start earlier and get the mowing started. I haven't quite decided yet on that. But I will be back with some more Marwell Manor and finishing off our planting and our final round of mowing very soon.